No,
I have one.
we're in the second class.
I have a tripod.
Oh, good.
So we are in the second class in a gate of unity and faith. The subject is unity and faith. Unity, it means that everything is one. How everything is one. And faith is for everything we can't understand. Which completes. We have a mitzvah to understand. Everything we are possible to understand. Everything is possible to understand, we must understand. If we leave it to faith, it's a crime. Okay? Everything we can possibly understand, we must understand. But we cannot think that understanding is the only thing that's there. Like if we don't understand, it doesn't exist. No, there is much more that we will never understand, and we must believe.
Is it clear what we can understand?
Of course.
I made a video instead of doing it live, so let's just, so you don't have to start over, just continue on.
Okay. Last class we did the first chapter. Now to make it clear, to make a summary from last chapter, in one word, we understood that it's all about, like, the world is created using speech. So the reality that we live in, we live like in a book. We live in a book. Okay, the reality is compiled of letters. If you see the book from the outside, so you could say, I see the letters, but if you live in the book, if you're part of the book, it's hard to see the letters because you're one of them, and it's like, it's in your level, so you can't. But the tzaddikim, it's possible actually to zoom out and to see the world from Hashem's point of view, from a creator point of view. And I tell you a secret: the truth is, the secret of the Torah is to transform a creature, a creation, into a creator. That's the point. Through Torah and mitzvot, through itbonenut, observation, we get inside, or we zoom out, whatever it is, and we become the creator. Meaning, we unite with the creator, we become the creator, we are able to see things from a creator point of view. Okay? Instead of being a recipient, we become mashpia, we create. And that we make chidush. We make something new that was never there before. And that's every one of us is capable of doing it, to bring here something new. But in order for that to happen, we need to adapt the point of view of a creator. And that's the real point of learning all of that. Okay. So last time we started to practice how it could possibly be to that. How did it happen, the creation? So we're saying, think about the book. Okay, this book. White. Hashem is above the white even, but Hashem projects himself as being the white. And then Hashem speaks those letters, and they pipe out on the white, the black, different shapes. That's why we said last time, that's why in the Jewish tradition, the book is so important, letters are so important. So, different shapes, these are the letters, this is the creatures. All of that together, like a chapter, for example, in Hebrew it's perek, it's a chelek, it's a part, makes sense. Something, that's a certain situation, reality, that is coming out through these letters all together combined. You have a reality comes to life. That's the reality. That's the world. That's life. That's the creation. It's a book. It says in the creation book. There's a book called the Creation Book. It's Sefer Yetzirah, one of them, the first books ever written. There's a concept that is called Sefer, Sofer, Vesipur. It's a trilogy of book, author, and story. There's the book, there's the author. You don't see the author, you see the book. And from the book, there is a story. So we kind of starting by living in the story. We don't realize that story is it's coming from a book. And the book is written by an author. So there is a creator. Okay? So this is an eye-opening thing. Okay, I'm here, I'm part of the story, you know, as a person, is a like a kid or something who is not educated, a person that's not educated, is like totally involved in the story, you know. It's like, that happened, and I did that, and he did that, and that happened, what happened, you know, and I can do that, and I'll do that, you know. We are so into the story, so emotionally involved. But in other words, what does it mean to be a creator? To reach a level of Chabad. Chabad is Chochma Bin Adat. To live from here. To guide our emotions and our reality, okay, with a creator point of view, meaning to make a difference. To add something new to the realities. For this, we need to be brain. Not just emotionally involved, but to be brain. Of course, emotionally involved, it's very important. But if you're under it, if you have no control, so you're just running around like chicken without a head. But when you have a head above it, when you have the divine point of view, you have of a creator, so then you are, to be emotionally involved is very important, very important. Never, it's not a choice between brain and heart. It's not a choice between brain and heart. But there has to be a brain above heart. So the heart is guided, like it says in the Yom Yom somewhere, I think Yud Bet Shvat, it says that the heart is very hot, very warm, and basically is like, the heart is crazy. The head is very cold. Each one of them has an advantage and disadvantage. But when the head is above the heart, so then the head becomes a mentor for life filled with ambitions. Instead of the heart is emotionally involved in everything and getting hurt or uncertain in what's going on, you have a mentor that guides the heart, the ambition, to be ambitious and to reach goals. Okay? So then it's very important to have a heart, of course. We don't let go of that, but the brain is above. Moach shalit al halev, brain is above heart. But what we said last time about, you said 4 things. We spoke, it wasn't the subject, but still we can say that we spoke about in length how from the white, the reality of the black, how it comes from the white. We said it's too much white brings black, and in other words, that's the concept of will. When a person wants something, so then out of the white emerges the black, because the black makes, when you want something, it makes you narrow, makes you focused, okay, and it makes everything black, and so then and it's deeper. The black is deeper than the white, because we said the black is actually a wider white. So we spoke about will, and then we said that the will projects into the thought. The will, the vessel for the will is the thought, and then because every time you want something, it projects into your thoughts. Now there are different types of thoughts, by the way. Now, different types of thoughts are tools, are vessels for different internal or spiritual, like will. I will call it a spiritual power. It's not something that you have an actual organ for it. It is coming. It emerges in the thoughts and also in the vein, in the nerves. But the willpower itself, obviously, is a spiritual thing. It just comes and reveals itself and expresses itself in the thoughts and the nerves. But that itself is spiritual. So then we spoke about the thoughts, and then we said about how the thoughts translates into speech. That behind every speech there is thought. Okay, so that's last time. This time, Oh, I see. You spoke about, okay. The fourth time, it's the 4 of the Torah. It's on Thursday, it's not on Tuesday. It's on Tuesday?
That's okay.
Okay, that's fine. Anyway, in chapter 2, we explain, the fact that the world is created with speech, with letters, gives us an understanding of what does it mean to create. So I said in Hebrew we say livro. Livro is not create. So in English you say ex nihilo. So I'm using the word creating, creator, but it doesn't really true. And actually here in this point, the whole chapter sits on that point. That the difference between creation and ex nihilo. So even though I used so far the word creation because everybody knows this word, but there has to be understanding that it's not creator, it's not creating, it's ex nihilo. In Hebrew we say yesh me'ain, something from nothing. So the second chapter goes into that and it explains also what are the applications, what's the difference? What difference does it make? Okay. So the world was created with speech. When I speak, is it the speech? Is it really coming from nowhere? If you think about it for a second, if you dwell on it, of course the speech doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from me. It comes from inside of me. It comes from inside of me, and I'm saying inside, not only physically. Of course, it comes from inside physically. It's the steam. It comes from the heart. That actually gets from the lungs. The heart, the lung, and then goes to the lungs. And then from the lungs goes to my mouth, and then it hits 5 different parts in my mouth. For example, lips. So pe. It's going to be from the lips, but it's not from the lips. It's not like I'm going to do. No sound is going to come. Has to have the steam, the blow comes from inside, and hits the lips, and then you're going to have the p. So it's like the spiritual part of it, and relatively spiritual. I call it the spiritual that is within the physical. It's the blow. And then the P is created through the lips, but it's actually much deeper than that. It doesn't come from the heart. It comes from the brain, because the brain projects to the heart, and then the heart gets it to the lungs, and the lungs gets it to the mouth, and that actually doesn't only come from the thoughts. It comes from a deeper place, because how is it? It's not like my lips are so smart, or my 5 parts in the mouth, which are the throat, the palate, the tongue, the teeth, and the lips. These are the 5 parts where the wind hits, and then the different letters, all different letters in all languages. It doesn't matter what language it is. Okay, just the different combinations of the letters. That's difference in every language, but the letters are the same letters in all languages. They all come through the 5. So it's not like my lips are so smart to know exactly when to say the P or the pay. It's just that there is even a deeper place, which is above the thought, which is we call the chokhmah. The chokhmah to choose, and it goes very fast, to choose the right combinations of letters to transfer what I want to say. Okay, so it's the blow that comes into those 5. We call it Hey Gvurot Mantzapach. It's called in Kabbalah. The 5 places, the 5 vessels that cuts the sound. It cuts the sounds that comes from inside. That cuts the wind that comes. Restrict. So then it creates like a boundary, like a gvul, and then it brings different sounds. So the root of the different combinations comes from actually a higher level, higher level than my own thought. So my own thought projects to the heart to the lungs brings the wind, but the actual letters comes from a higher place from the thought. It's altogether projects to the 5 places in the mouth, and like directs them to cut the wind here and here and here and here and here and here in different ways, and then the wind that will come, that originally comes from the bina, the wind comes from the bina. The letters, which are the vessels, comes from the chokhmah, which is above bina. The chokhmah is before the bina. It's already projecting to the 5 places in the mouth when to stop, and the thought through the heart and the lungs brings the wind, the wind, and then it combined together. Chokhmah and Bina directs this show. It's that they are the director of the show, and works together.
The wind and Chachma as well?
Is the root of the letters of the cutting places in our mouth. Chet, Pei, Lamed. You know, we speak different words, different letters, combinations of letters. Okay, no questions. Now, anyway, okay, das is it could be that process can be also in a computer. You know, it's just cutting the words and the tochen, the inside, the spirituality that goes through. Das is already something that's very unique to a human being, that you're actually connected to what you're saying. How much connected are you to what comes out of you? To be part of it. That's why a little kid is not doesn't have so much das as an adult. A little kid can say something that will blow everybody's mind, but it doesn't really realize the impact that he makes by saying it. But that's another thing. I was talking about the actual creation without the input of the person in it. Das is the input, is the connection that a person has with what he says, what he does. That's why a little kid is not obligated in Torah and mitzvot, because it doesn't, even though it can do it, technically he can do it, a monkey can also do it, do certain things. Dogs today, they train, different animals, but then they don't have the das. So that's why, okay. So that's das. Anyway, going back to our thing. Now, so, okay, so when I speak by a human being, by a regular person, when I speak, it's already left my mouth, so then who knows where it's gonna get, and it has a different existence, a separate existence. We spoke about it last time. But I'm not talking about the speech after he left my mouth. I'm talking about the speech as I speak it. In the moment that I speak it, the speech has two different sides to it. On one end, I speak it out, and everybody can hear it. On the other hand, that speech is totally dependent on me. If I'm not going to be here, that speech is not going to be spoken. It's totally dependent on me. So what do we see here? That's basically the world. The world, there is actually another example for that, like a turtle. A turtle, his house, his home, comes from within him and stays attached to him. The same way is the world. Think about Hashem as being, in this example, the turtle, and the world comes from that turtle, which is like a speech that comes out of us, but also stays attached to us. Now, it's not an accurate example, because you can, let's say, cut the home, and it's going to be a separate thing and stays this way. Even though, once you separate the home from the turtle, it's how long it's going to stay. It's getting its vitality from the turtle. But that's basically another part of that example, because the world is also like that. The world, we say the world are the world of Bria, Yetzira Asiya, which starts with the world of Bria. The world of Bria, the world of Ex Nihilo, it's like this total home. It's like, now how long, logically, and a person can look into it in a logical manner and say, how long, if, let's say, theoretically, we separate the world from from where it's attached to in Hashem's place, how long it can survive without Hashem? That's a logic of the world of Bria. that you think, oh, it's separated, how long it's going. Hashem actually created a possibility to feel, by us, to feel part of the creation. As I said, Hashem created the possibility for us to think and to feel that the world is a separate thing from Hashem himself. And the only reason why Hashem did it this way, so we're going to have free choice, and we're going to realize we're going to be smarter and realize that not even a second, not even a split of a second. The world is absolutely connected to Hashem. But the reality is, we think, and that's basically chapter 2, we think it's like, when we throw a stone, for example, that's another example that's brought down in Hasidus. When you throw a stone, you throw the stone, how the stone is in the air, if someone is going to come in the middle of the stone is in the air, he's going to look at the stone and say, wow, look, the stone is flying. The impossible just happened. The stone is flying. But the stone can't fly. It's the power of the person that is in the stone right now, if you want to think about it this way. It's the power of the person that is in the stone right now, somehow, and pushes it. Once the power ends, the stone will come back to the floor, to the ground. Because the floor, unless the stone has an external power to move it, the stone by itself cannot move. Same thing. The world doesn't have an existence of its own at all. The world cannot be unless there is a power that is in it. Now, when you talk about how long that power can, when it comes to throwing a stone, so the person already, maybe, is already going on, is going somewhere else. And the stone continues to fly because of what he did. So then people say, okay, so how long the world can be without Hashem input? Hashem made it so we feel that the world has an existence of its own. Avraham Avinu said, Kel oilom and not kel ha-oilom. Meaning, Avraham Avinu said, the world is not, there has no ability whatsoever to stay even for a second without Hashem. The world needs Hashem all the time. The idol worshippers, the general root for all idol worshipping is, for all types of idol worshipping, is that they say Hashem, which they believe in that, they believe in Hashem in the root of it, they all believe. They realize, everybody realizes that the world comes from somewhere, but they say Hashem left earth. Hashem left. It's like someone that threw a stone and left. So the stone, it takes, I don't know, as long as it can take. But the world, okay, the world, or maybe they cut the home of the turtle from the turtle and that's it. And they think, okay, even that way, still, you understand that there is a limit to how much it can be. But the Avraham Avinu, the Chidush of Avraham Avinu was that he rejected all types of idol worshipping, and he wrote, it says in the Gemara, in Masechet Avodah Zarah, that he wrote a book, 400 chapters of about Avodah Zarah. The Gemara says on itself, we only wrote 4 chapters. The Gemara, there was only 4 chapters. He wrote 400 chapters. So he knows a lot. So anyway, the Chidush was that the world has no, even a split of a second, it cannot be unless Hashem gives life to it. Meaning that Hashem continuously speaks the world into existence. Now, we don't have to read all of the 400 chapters, even though if we did that, would be very nice, because that would be so. If we would read those 400 chapters, what would come out of it is that we were not going to be able even to think any other way. We're going to feel Hashem. We're not going to feel ourselves. We're going to feel that there's no chance to. That's how Avraham Avinu, he wrote this book. He got into this acknowledgement completely. He was filled with this acknowledgement. But essentially, there is a principle that goes along this whole journey of 400 chapters. There's a method, and that's here in chapter 2. The same way that when I speak, so the speech is dependent on me. The same way, the world is with Hashem. So what is our problem? Why do we feel all the time that Hashem already created the world, already made the world into being, and now the world is in being? And Hashem, it's two different things, the world and Hashem. Why? We always fall to feel this way. One is going to take it to one type of avodah zarah, another one is going to take it to another type of avodah zarah. Meaning that it's going to develop relationship with the creation instead of with the creator. We all have it, some less and some more. Some it's more obvious, some less obvious. But that's the way we feel. Okay, that's avodah zarah. That's like other gods. Lo yeh lecha elokim acherim al panah. You shouldn't have any other gods. We're supposed to feel that we are absolutely getting our lives, and we are absolutely dependent on the Creator itself all the time. One is worshiping the sun. He says, okay, Hashem created the sun, but now I get my life from the sun. So Hashem left, and now he develops a relationship with the sun, with money, with a certain boss, with his own wisdom, with his own riches, with his own whatever. Like, okay, Hashem gave it to me, but now I develop a relationship with that. You know, as I'm getting more successful in that, I'll be more successful. I get more life. I get more vitality. You know, parnasa and so on. Like, he's going to give me my parnasa. I have to perfect my disability, and then I will give parnasa. When I mean parnasa, I mean chayus. I mean like vitality, life, being. Okay? And we're supposed to fix that and say, no. Hashem continues to ex nihilo the sun, from nothing to something. He continues to speak the sun into existence. And that's the way, not the sun. We don't get heat from the sun. We get heat from Hashem using that method of the sun. But our relationship is with Hashem. We don't see anything else. We don't have to develop, we shouldn't develop any relationship with anything else but Hashem himself. And by the way, so there is also other subjects that we should discuss. In short, like how Hashem reveals himself through his speech in many different forms. Okay, that's why people, for example, the sun. So the sun, like Avraham Avinu said, okay, the sun is the one, is the God, you know, is the power, and then the sun leaves, and then there's another form of life that comes through that, the moon, the stars. And then, you know, different things. But that's not a place to live. That's not a way to live, to always run after the next thing that's going to give you a little bit of vitality in life. We should go up, go out of it, go above it, and see the only one that does it through all of these things. So Hashem reveals himself, gives the life through different forms. Hashem, even in Matan Torah, or Yetziat Mitzrayim, or Kriyat Yam Suf, Hashem revealed himself in different forms. And by the way, we spoke about it once, but and it could be very hurtful. But the truth is, as much hurtful as it is, but the truth is that even our family, even our own body, to get attached to it, okay, it could be very hurtful, because we change, and things change, and people die, and that's the truth. So the reality, once we realize and we develop constant relationship with Hashem himself, only with Hashem himself, so then we live forever. ואתם הדבקים בהשם אלוקיכם חיים כולכם היום. You that sticks to Hashem himself will live forever. It's logical, because we stick to the eternity, to what is eternal. Going back to the speech. So Hashem speaks the world into existence. Hashem continuously speaks the world. So our problem is that we are used to think in terms of changing patterns, changing forms, and we call it to create, we call it to invent. You know, yesterday my son told me something, and he's called it, someone invent this and that. He didn't invent it. He found it. He didn't invent it. Okay? He revealed it. He found out. that it exists, but it already exists. So, and especially in English, that the common word to use is creation, it makes us confused. We have to open this rooftop, creation is, we think it all starts in creation. It doesn't start in creation. There's something that comes before. Creation is Yetzira. There's Bria. Bria, it means ex nihilo. So if we think about things in terms of ex nihilo, we understand that ex nihilo, on the other hand, is relative. What does it mean that ex nihilo is relative? To create something, to make something out of nothing. Out of nothing. What does it mean out of nothing? How can you make out of nothing? So it's not nothing, it's just in relation to its existence, it's nothing. Meaning that the thing itself that had been come to be that itself does not comprehend, cannot capture, cannot grasp its root and source, where it's coming from, it cannot grasp it. But of course, it comes from somewhere. When we say ex nihilo, it does come from somewhere. So what does it mean? It means that we call Hashem himself is Yesh Amiti, the true Yesh, the true existence. Hashem exists forever. His existence is true for many different reasons. He exists forever. His existence is not dependent on something else. Okay? He truly exists. He truly exists.
And it truly exists outside of us, ourselves. It's not.
It truly exists undependent on us. His existence is not dependent on us. Meaning, even if I don't know Hashem, I don't know Hashem. I have never heard. I don't think there is Hashem. I don't believe in Hashem. He's still there. There is a story that in Russia one time there was a guy working in a chosid, and they came in the hardest time they had hardest times that they didn't allow to believe in Hashem, to believe in anything. So they asked him, "Do you believe in God?" So he said, "And if I don't believe in him, that will make him not to exist." He was smart. He was smart, because he said to them, "Listen, what does it matter if I believe or not? He exists regardless to my belief." He made it smart. He did it smart, and it's true. So it's only for us to want to know Him more and connected to Him more, to feel Him more, to think about Him more. Okay, but he's not dependent on us. So He is independent, and now He speaks the world into existence. The whole like, if you could call it space, is the space is occupied by Him. It's the opposite. We think about Hashem in terms of where is Hashem? He's here, he's there, I feel Him here, I feel Him there, I don't feel Him here, I don't see Him there. Oh, I felt Hashem. We consider ourselves as being the space, and then Hashem is in this space. Truth is the opposite. Hashem is the space. It's more than just space. And maybe as we could say, Hashem is the space, and the place is in Him. Just for it's not accurate, but just for the matter of the speech, the reality is in Him. So think about a person that speaks, and that person occupies the whole space. Anyway, so where does he speak to? So he creates a place. He makes a place. With speech, he creates a place. He makes ex nihilo a space where the fact that he's there is not revealed. Okay, he's everywhere, but he creates a vacuum, so to speak, of a place where he's not revealed. In that vacuum, he speaks into that vacuum. Okay, now as he speaks into that vacuum, he continuously speaks into that vacuum, because even if he's going to speak and he's going to stop speaking, it's not going to be good enough. He has to speak continuously, because speaking means to bring the wind, to continue to blow the wind into this combination of letters. So it's the same combination of letters, which is the Torah. The Torah doesn't change. It's the same combination of letters, But Hashem has to continuously blow the wind into those combinations of letters. So those combinations of letters continues to exist in this space, that space itself, that Hashem, again I'm repeating, that Hashem removed using speech. Part of that was speech. We spoke about it, how Hashem did it. Basically, when a person wants something, or when a person speaks, the attention goes to his speech. The attention goes to his will. Okay? That's how it works. For example, when I tell you something, or when you see a commotion, what's going to be? Your attention is drawn to this commotion. So for a second, you don't see anything besides that commotion. So when Hashem spoke, the world exists. He basically, part of that, as a result of that, he also removed the attention from himself to what he says. So then it's an illusion. It's an illusion. Then the speech continuously, Hashem has to blow into the letters, because otherwise it's going to melt away. It's haya kelo haya. It's going to be like it never had been. Because the difference between when you make table out of wood, so even if you break the table still is still wood. But if you make something out of nothing, so if you break the something, what's left? Nothing. If it goes back to its original state, if a table goes back to its original state, it's still wood. But if something that came from nothing comes back, is broke, is getting back to where it was, there's nothing. That's our mistake. We think in terms of form. Things changes forms. But this is not this way. But what does it mean? What does it mean? It also, in a way, the world is also a change of a form. Because before, it was in form of Hashem. It was Hashem. Hashem occupied all space. And now there is speech, there is a world. So the world did change of form. So what does it mean ex nihilo? Ex nihilo, to give an example, the Maggid Mezrich explains, it's like a chicken in a chicken and an egg. Not the chicken and the egg known thing, but I'm talking about when you have an egg, just laid an egg, chicken just laid an egg. And then, in what point it becomes a chick, a new chick? For a while, you're going to say, right now, there is an egg. And then, it's going to become a new reality that's going to say, תתקשר לך עוד 5 דקות? כן, 5 דקות, אני באמצע שיעור. כן. So at one point you're going to call it the egg, and another point you're going to call it a chick. What is the cut? Can you make a cut, a clear cut, and say, this is a chick, this is an egg? There has to be a split of a second, something that you don't even measure by time, that we call nothing. It's not it, and it's not that. It's not that, and it's not that. And that's the tzimtzum, that's the type of the tzimtzum that Hashem had made, that from the point where everything was occupied by Hashem to the point where the world is in existence, there is a time, there is a cut. It's not a cut. It's like there is a time that it's not it and it's not that. It's not that and it's not that. That's what it means, ex nihilo. Ex nihilo is to start. It's to clean the table. There is nothing, not even Hashem Himself, so to speak, the revelation of Hashem Himself. And from that, He creates. Okay, it's like people say, okay, let's open a new page. Let's start fresh. Let's start new. Meaning, Hashem did not create the world from something that was there before. Hashem created the world as like a blank page, as a blank page, as a blank thing. Blank. It's blank. It's like they say, in the world, they say, we look at the world around us and we say, wow, look at such big buildings and look how people think and people talk and look, these people accomplish this and that. Listen. They're just people. You can also have the opportunity to make your own world, to create. But that's the message over here. Practically, it means that we are also able to start new, to create, to make things to be. We don't have to just copy paste from here and there and make a reality. We can make creation. Of course, and there's no
matter, and there's no energy.
right. There's no matter and there's no energy, right? Because we come before matter and before energy, so we have the ability to create matter and energy. To make ex nihilo. Of course, by us people, the Rabbi always say, in order for that to be right, you come from a place, from a consciousness that is above matter and energy, but you project your energy into, you project your ability of making and ability of energy producing onto the existence. Meaning you work with other people, you work with the world the way it is, you know, and you it's like the Alter Rebbe when he wrote the Tanya, he called it Likutei Amorim, meaning it's just a gathering of different information. But the reality is he made something new. He made something new out of using something that was already exist. Okay, but that's like human being. But Hashem created the world out of nothing completely. We're supposed to be like Hashem. We're supposed to develop. Okay, that's another issue. How to apply the ability to create. So
it's beyond the. Go ahead. Do the last point.
now, just to help us. Okay, so the speech is something that Hashem continuously brings the wind into the matter, into the world, into those words, continuously. Otherwise, it wouldn't be, because that's what it means ex nihilo. It means it comes from nothing. So if it stops, it will go back to nothing. In the end of the chapter, it talks about different types of speech of Hashem. Two different types. One is the speech that makes the creation into being, the reality into being, the matter, and then, which is much more. The speech is much more detailed, maybe. And then you have also the speech of the prophets. The prophets, it's not them, it's also Hashem's speech. So what's the difference between the prophets, which is Hashem's speech, to the speech that makes the world into being? So the speech that makes the world into being has more tzimtzumi, meaning it's more detailed, I would say. Generally speaking, it's more detailed, it's more specific and restricted and limited to what it's supposed to be. And the speech of the prophets is more spiritual, is more abstract, is more up there. In the words of the Tanya, the speech of the world comes down to the world of Assi, comes down to much more detail. The speech of the prophets is only it's Atzilus, the way it's revealed in Bria. Whatever, that's Kabbalistic words. But that also gives us an indication of what does it mean. And using the Tanakh, for example, when you see the prophets in the Tanakh, the prophecies in the Tanakh, and you realize this is the same speech, and you see also in the Tanakh that everything that is there in the Tanakh is not just a book. Tanakh is not an history book. Tanakh is forever Hashem's words. It's the living God. The words of the living God, right? V'rei Elokim Chai. And from that, and how? So every generation, the tzaddikim, interpreting the words of the Tanakh in a way that guides the present generation. So that helps us to understand also how the speech of Hashem works. On one hand, we said that Hashem speaks continuously the same words, which is the words of the Torah. Specifically, when he talks about the creation, it speaks about it's the first chapter of the Torah. This is where the whole world comes from this, and continuously comes from the first chapter of Bereshis, of the book of Genesis. On the other hand, so there's a lot of creatures, a lot of objects that you don't see, word for word in the first book of Genesis. Most of the things are not there. So then, and also there's a very, like people say, there's new inventions, there's new words come out. So first of all, the 5 places in the mouth, which creates the 22 Hebrew letters, which is the foundation for all languages, because it's all the same 5 places in the mouth that create those letters. That doesn't change. That for sure doesn't change. But also, the words of the Torah, what does it mean that the Torah is living, is alive? The words of the living God, what does it mean? It means it's alive. It's alive. What happens with something that's alive? Develops. What is the development of the words of the Torah? On one hand, they stay the same forever. Those words stay. But from those words, you have different combinations that come out. For example, if you take the word, if you take the word shemesh, and you make out of it the word truma, for example, so shemesh is 640, truma is 640 as well, plus vav k, the name of Hashem. So that could be a development that that from one word that does say I don't know if the word shemesh actually comes in the Torah, but anyway, the point is that there's a development. Also, the interpretation of the tzaddikim that comes on again and more creates like you have a car 2000 and a car 2017. It's not the same logic there. It's just that new inventions, additions. You have development. It's alive. Okay? So the same way it's in the Torah, from the Torah, the developments that happens in the Torah, the chidushim that are in the Torah, are considered as the roots for the inventions, for the chidushim in the world, in the reality. And that's basically how the world continues to exist and to add and to develop. To develop the developments, because that's the difference between saying something that is going to be considered dead or alive. Hashem continues to bring wind into those specific letters of the Torah, and then it goes on to 2 things. There is the world that is developed from those words of Torah, and it continues to develop, and this comes from the second thing, or from the first thing, which is the Torah itself, developments in the Torah. And what are the developments in the Torah? In one word, letters. Different combinations of letters, the numerical value, and there are different types. There's a book, it's called Pardes, or there's also different Kabbalah books that explains how it happens. But naturally, we speak. We do. And we develop those words. It's all, in essence, developing those words of Torah into something that was always there in a concealed way, but it didn't come to revelation. That's the difference, by the way, between the Torah, the holiness, the kedusha, and what people say in the world. People are in the world, they're like, I invented it. But in the Torah, we didn't invent nothing. We just brought it into the light. Okay? It was always there, it was concealed. It was there in the letters of the Torah. Hashem already spoke it in the beginning of time. And he continues to blow into it, so the world still exists as a result of coming from the Torah. Which is another subject we can talk about, how the world comes from the Torah. But the world comes from the Torah, and the Torah, Hashem continues to speak the world into existence. And to speak the Torah into existence. It's different layers. The Torah is less layers, so we see Hashem there more. The world is more layers, so you see Hashem less. But it's the same, it's actually one thing. And we just bring things into the light by changing the letters, the numerical value, playing with that, we're making a new reality. Now, we can do it in the Torah, and it's going to be much more revealed, less layers. We can do it also in the world. People invent things in the world, and they think they made it up, but in essence, it gets its life from certain words of the Torah, and they actually did something, they brought something into the light, and they think they invented it, but it's actually coming from those words of Torah. But we have to know that Hashem gave us the power to do that, you know, Hashem does gives us a lot of power when it comes to the Torah and the mitzvot and the power to change those letters and create and to bring different things into the light. That's where we come into the picture. But we ourselves are also creations, we come from the light.